All right, guys, welcome once again to the Professional Goblins podcast. I'm one of your wonderful, wonderful hosts. I am Scott, and with me, as always, is
Myler. Hello, everyone. How you doing?
and rounding out the cast, as always.
Savannah Broadway, no Pelly today, sadly.
That's okay. I'll make up for it with a corgi with a cone of shame on his head.
Oh, God of shame.
So, in addition to the corgi with you guys can't see that actually. Kirk, come here. There you go. Cone of shame. Get you for all time. And with us today is Keith. Keith, you want to introduce yourself and tell us why people should care about you when you don't have a mustache?
It's a good point. The mustache removal was perhaps a mistake. Anyways, I'm Keith Leiker. I'm a professional game designer. I work professionally in digital games, but recently did a Kickstarter for a analog tabletop game called The Lost Age.
Very cool. I actually have a bit of a background in digital as well. I did a bunch of apps and stuff right out of college, where my company originally did, and now I'm going the other way. So, good times. So yeah, Keith was with us today. As you guys know, we and if you don't know, if it's your first time joining us, wow, you're in for a head trip. But anyway, this is Professional Goblins. It's kind of a formatted show with a few sections. We roll on through, and at the end, Keith here will have some time to tell us all about himself and talk on a topic he wants.
If you're watching on YouTube and you look down the video description, there are a bunch of timestamps, so you can just listen to what you care about if you're here for 5e or Pathfinder or Starfinder or whatever.
And Mike, thank you for doing that, because I know that it cannot be fun.
All right, so do we have a review today? I don't believe so.
I don't think we do.
All right.
So
Frank did not send us anything to review, unfortunately.
Keith, if you give us something that is relatively short, in other words, not 400 pages, we can generally look it over and give our opinion. Or sorry, we don't give our opinions. People, because that would be unprofessional.
We can do our friends like Cool Shredder and Unicorn Brow and Lord Chesterwick. What's going on?
Pumpernickel.
Pumpernickel.
But yes, they can give a review next week if that's the way things are looking. But anyway, the first segment on our show is we're talking about game stories, things that characters we're either currently playing or characters from the past where we kind of learned a lesson from it. So that's kind of the gist of it. Does anyone kind of want to take it off first?
I mean, I want to hear about this communist dragonborn, Keith. I mean, I won't make you relive the whole, your Warpriest should have totally been a healer thing in front of everybody, but I would like to hear the communist dragonborn story.
All I'm saying is that it's in the name, War Priest.
Priest, it's the second half! See, Mike, you're not the only one that I keep calling out for stuff that happened years ago on live podcast.
I feel better now.
Yeah. Oh, Keith, did you hear about that time that Mike rolled 3 ones in a row against my Inkling?
No, we've never heard this story. Please tell us again and again.
Anyway, so the communist dragonborn.
So, playing in a D&D 5e game right now, I have a cleric. He is a Dragonborn cleric, Boldry, who, if you don't know, in the world of, Eberron, he's like the deity of community and stuff like that. So anyways, this guy, he goes around and he has a thick Russian accent, goes around and attempts to go through and bash out bad guys and make sure that dragons are able to go home free. And that's kind of his shtick. Of course, he's got lots of foils with everybody else in the party who kind of hates him because really he just wants to be in charge of everybody else, but under the guise of this communistic kind of overlay.
Are some party members more equal than others, Keith?
If you have scaly skin, you are in fact more equal than others.
I can accept that.
The amount of contribution to the state, and scaly skin is simply greater contribution.
It's very shiny. It's got lots of uses, and you don't
Much
need to
durable.
moisturize. Exactly.
So, I actually got one today. As you guys know, I have the infamous character Rut Made, sign of Rut Made the Elder, the goblin who ended up having levels in just about everything and making about as big of a fool of himself as one could with like 10 charisma and like 22 intelligence. Goblin, who is very smart and not very wise or charismatic.
Goblins.
Yeah. So he invented firearms in our setting. This was before actually we had rules for it. It was before the APG. It was like one of the first few things, and I was trying to play him as like an alchemist, but there wasn't an alchemist class yet. So I was a rogue, and I just kept buying alchemical equipment, and like I literally had like a lot of flasks and everything. So I was talking to Jim, and we talked about it before. I'm like, eventually at some point, I want to invent primitive weapons. He's like, cool, because he has his own campaign setting, and it worked out great. So Rut gets trapped in a dungeon behind in a long passageway at one point, made of stone, and there's something blocking the center. Now, the entrance, sorry, it's like a stone. And I go, well, there's clearly only one way I can get myself out of this. That is to place a stone behind me, a bunch of alchemist fire, and then break the alchemist fire and see if I can fly out. And I don't know if it's good or bad that it worked, but I didn't die. That's the important part. He flew
Any
out.
landing you can walk away from, man.
I was at negative HP, but I flew through. I hit the rock at the mouth and blew the rock at the mouth out. And then my character had an idea. If you could do this without yourself in there, maybe it would work. So he actually studied at the college, and despite being a goblin, I thought it was very funny. The gnomes were okay with him, so he ended up casting a brass tube and put a bunch of alchemist fire at the bottom and would throw a stone down the bottom and go pop. So he was a rogue. So he ends up having this cannon constructed, basically. Your equivalent of basically a 20-pound cannon, basically. And he straps it to his back. And he is encumbered. And he just lugs it around like this for it had been like 10 sessions. And we had to assassinate a guy at one point. So he was in like the top of this box or something, and Rut sneaks up there. He had a ridiculous stealth check with the giant cannon. Puts it behind him, and then someone distracts him, and Rut launches the cannon. For a sneak attack cannon. It blew... Oh, yes, Kirk. Hi. You're very interested in this, I know. So he got blown off the thing and died. And eventually, by the time the game ends, he has, like, freaking revolvers and, like, potion throwers. And it was fun. But, yes, we ended up sneak attacking someone with a, 20-pound mortar.
I mean,
There we go.
as long as you don't hear it coming, it's all good, right?
Yep. Eventually, he started selling them as his firearms as you ever see Lord of War, like the movie? We're just selling firearms everywhere. He went around the world selling firearms to people in conflicts on sides that he wanted to win, and had at least 2 genocides on his hands. It affected his alignment. He was never a good alignment.
No. I mean, he was a goblin. The deck was stacked against him.
What?
Said Lords of War is the Nick Cage one, right?
Yeah. With that crazy intro and everything.
All right, now I'm imagining your goblin as Nick Cage a little bit. So.
That's not entirely inaccurate, actually.
What are his feelings on bees?
He got vomit swarm just so he could vomit bees. So he because he just opens his mouth and just bees fly out. It's great. You see a haunting.
So his phrase was, yes, the bees?
Yes, the bee. My God, the bees, yeah. So, Savannah, do you have anything entertaining for us today?
Yeah, so I think on the very first podcast that I was on, I brought up Jeremiah Jorts, who was the NPC that my players just kind of made up out of whole cloth. Basically, they found the person who press ganged them, they found his pirate speech absolutely hilarious. So I had been intending to run a serious game, switched immediately to a very funny game, and had a crew member be embarrassed of the guy for his pirate speech. And so they ended up taking this guy under their wing. They dubbed him Jeremiah Jorts. He's a priest or a cleric of Besmara, and he's also Group Taylor. But more importantly, I know, right? But yeah, so he existed, and I was reflecting. I finally made him a character sheet instead of just bumming off the NPC codex. And I was thinking about like thoughts on spell choice and thoughts on like making your NPCs react to what your PCs do. Because I was making 2 clerics at the time. You remember Merrick's, Keith. He's an NPC here. He's just as dodgy as he is everywhere else.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, they both took the feat's stealth synergy because the whole party took it. And I don't know if you've heard of it as a teamwork feat, but it's dumb because everyone who has it, as long as they're in with like X radius of each other, can take the highest stealth roll. And so they just make sure that the rogue is with them, and he just makes sure to max out his stealth, and they're just a crowd of ninjas.
Wait, so does that stack with like invisibility? Or like, if one person is invisible?
Oh man, that would be. I'm not sure.
'Cause that's a plus
if they
40
ask, I'm
or
going
whatever.
to say no.
Yeah, he gets an extra plus 40. Y'all don't.
Yeah, you guys are just extra screwed because you can't see his gestures to tell you where to hide. So yeah, I was thinking about like, you know, basically the whole party took stealth synergy, so clearly the clerics have to take that too. And also like, oh, so Merrick's takes liberating command because the PC that he's closest to got swallowed by a giant fish.
Seems like a theme.
Exactly. Or yeah, I know. Merrick's has not gotten swallowed yet. I'm very proud of him.
Yay.
But anyway, so Jeremiah Jorts, who is on romantic-ish levels with the bard, took I think it's called Moment of Greatness, and it increases the effect of a morale bonus.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like he wants to make her awesomeness even more awesome, so he's gonna take spells that support her.
I like it. It's character building via role playing. Man, it's almost like that's a good way of going about it. Who'd have thunk it?
Heresy. So, Mike, why should we not invite you to a Harry Potter game?
Oh, first,
I can think of lots of reasons, but do spell them out.
What is a specific one?
Scott keeps spiking on his mic, so Scott, you're spiking on your mic.
I'm spiking. Let me pop myself down.
I think I might have mentioned this before, but it's a really worthwhile story. So we had just finished this like 3 or 4 year long epic campaign where we played as like evil characters against our good characters after we permadeath, and it was just massive. And it was during the Harry Potter, like the height of it. And they were all like, oh, we want to play Harry Potter. And I was all like, no, that sounds stupid as hell. I don't want to play Harry Potter. And this other guy was like, no, that sounds stupid as hell. Please don't make us play Harry Potter. And everyone else was like, Harry Potter. So JP, where I'm going to talk about 2 characters because JP always makes the best fucking characters. He was playing like the son of the school's headmaster, and he hated magic so much. Like, he took all the feats to use a Mercurial Greatsword back in 3.5, and he just dragged this Greatsword around everywhere. He was like a 13-year-old. And then I played this, like, creepy, gothed-out Necromancer, because that was the height of my goth phase as well. And among other things that happened, we got, like, baby Displacer Beasts, and they all lost their minds when I started feeding mine a little bit of Orc's blood. Like, I don't want it to get a taste for Orcs. Anyway. We're on sabbatical or on vacation or summer vacation or whatever at this town, and a dragon starts attacking it. And then I convinced them all, like, okay, well, look, let's all just prepare. We're all wizards, right? We all know Magic Missile. Magic Missile has a stupid range. Let's all just wait for it and then Magic Missile it to death. And they agreed, and it worked, right? But it starts to flee. And then I'm very quickly being like the ever-greedy son of a bitch. I was like, look, everyone, we have this scroll of teleport. We could get back to school on time. Or we can come with the corpse of a dragon, a hoard of treasure, and return as heroes late. What do you guys want to do? And of course, we teleported to the dragon's lair, and we're waiting for it, and then just continued with the magic missiles until it died. And I think he actually critted with the greatsword because he always got the most amazing rolls while using power attack. So he'd be at like a -4 swinging this greatsword, and he'd critically hit shit. Which was like ×4 damage with the mercurial weapons, so it just destroyed things that were well outside of our ability to fight. Yeah. But yeah, don't invite me to a Harry Potter game because I'm probably not going to play it like I'm supposed to. I'm probably going to be the weird, creepy necromancer kid that feeds bloods to his pet monster.
See, I think you should have then revived the dragon as a zombie and then just flew it back to school.
I had to go to college, but I would have gone to that point if I had gotten up to Anime Dead at 5th level. Yeah.
Guys, I have to go back somewhere for summer break. Where? Nowhere. What are you talking about?
Where have you been the past couple months, buddy? The graveyard, just hanging out, practicing. Who's that weird cowed guy behind you? Don't worry about him.
He's an exchange student.
Yeah, he's an exchange student.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't speak English. That grumbling, he's German.
Very German.
He's the Swedes, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I annoyed the shit out of the GM because I kept asking him when we were going to start playing Quidditch. That was it. And
That's a reason. Like, that's the best excuse to play a Harry Potter game, really. No Quidditch.
I mean, like, I was surprised there wasn't Quidditch, but I think he specifically didn't include Quidditch because I kept asking him about it, and he knew I was doing it.
I mean, I would have not included it if you kept asking about it.
Yeah,
I can.
Exactly. All right, new topic. Favorite working projects.
Savannah, I actually see that you have a project I was going to talk about in my favorite projects that are not mine in this section. So.
Oh, that's true. I put mine in the exact wrong spot because I have nothing to do with this Puerto Rico hurricane. But also, never mind. I don't have something right now.
Okay.
So, Mike or Keith, you guys got something you guys want to talk about?
I have a bunch of stuff. Operation Nazi Smasher is almost ready for print. I'm waiting for one section from the Order of the Amber Die guy because he's a history teacher, and he was like, "Oh, I know all about like where to put this castle in Austria," and I was like, "All right, tell me about it, and I'll put it in the book." But that's ready to go to print, and then I finished most of the maps for Escape from Cleveland 2099 and the cover, so we're moving on that. And then Bally and Tor is ready for print, and then I met a guy at Gen Con who really liked me and likes Hypercorps, so that's going into Fantasy Grounds. He's converting it for Legendary Games.
There we go.
Lots of Hypercorps stuff going on.
Cool.
Yeah,
and the Order of Amber Die they did their playthrough. So if you check out their Twitter and their Facebook, you can see some really awesome screenshots. Honestly,
so much Nazi smashing.
Yeah, how many did they end up? Like 70, 80?
Too many. Too many to properly keep track of. And
they didn't get to the actual, like, they just secured the castle grounds, I think, and they didn't actually get down beneath the bunker and stuff. Like,
you got to get to the bunker if you're smashing zombies, frankly. Like,
yes,
it's true.
Well,
not
it convinced me that I need to take some levels away from the Nazi soldiers so that they're faster smashed.
Yes. Yeah, I did hear that there were lots of them present, and that it was really great for newer characters to like knock down the bowling pins, but eventually, you need some variety in your smashing.
I don't know. Are they gonna do like a video or a full report or what? What's how much more?
You'll have to talk to them. I have actually not chatted with them about it yet.
All right.
I'm sure they can definitely come up with a thing. We usually do that for APs, so.
Yeah. It's like I'm interested to see what they do, because like it's always weird what the Hypercorps people end up doing with their characters, because you can do such weird, crazy stuff. Like
they had flying sacred dolphins who shot magic missiles. Exactly,
right? Like, did anybody throw trees at the castle, for instance, or hit it like a baseball bat? Like, yeah. Well, I know that Mind Mole at one point was sneaking around and had like mind fucked a Nazi into being his friend, but that,
Okay.
Check out their Twitter and stuff. It was neat.
Check out their Twitter. They got Nazis. They got smashing. It's great.
Exactly. It's the best kind of Nazis.
Actually, I was envisioning like a live tweet feed as you're attacking the Nazi castle, like what the Guardian of you're saying. Like,
I like it.
Hashtag
it would definitely be like if there were in modern days a castle of Nazis to smash. That is exactly how it would go down.
I suspect so.
But Keith, you said that you had something to talk about?
I mean, I've just got the one. The Lost Age is recently kickstarted. It's not ready for production yet, but if there's anybody on the West Coast that's coming to going to be here in January, OrcaCon has got a new location in Bellevue. It's an awesome inclusive convention.
That's in California, correct?
What's that?
That's California, right?
Washington State.
Washington State. Okay, cool. So Bellevue, California, too. So.
Oh man.
Oh.
That's weird.
That's
A lot
it.
of
You
buildings.
said West Coast, and I'm like, I'm Arizona, but that's a different trip for me.
No oceanfront property in Arizona, dude.
We have a lake
Um,
everyone puts yachts on, even though it's the size of like a freaking like supermarket parking lot. You know, you're like, oh man, this huge lake, Lake Pleasant. It's actually not small, but like they put giant boats on it, and you're like, what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna sail?
But yeah, we've talked about the Lost Age a couple times here and there. But if you want to give us an overview and tell folks who might not know about it yet.
Sure, yeah. So the Lost Age, I've been working on it for too many years, maybe 4 or 5 years, but it's a heroic Bronze Age tactical RPG. If you've played Numenera, Pathfinder, that kind of stuff, you kind of know what's up. But you use resources instead of actually just getting straight modifiers. So if you want to do something cool, you just spend a bunch of points and you can do it. The world setting is a little bit different. It's kind of a mythic world. So, people get together, everybody believes something, eventually it'll come true. So like the gods kind of start there and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's been going really well. I've got my artist has been pumping out new art. I'll have a new update on the Kickstarter here soon that'll be public. You can check out, but nice watercolors, things like that. So
yeah,
really
I talked to her at Geek Girl Con actually.
Oh yeah. I didn't know that you saw her there actually. I think she was really, really sick that weekend.
She valiantly going forth at least on the first day, but yeah, she was not sounding good going into it.
So you said one phrase that this makes me happy. You said Bronze Age. Can you go into a little bit more of that? I'm a historical like combat guy.
Oh yeah, sure. So same thing. I love history. I love kind of the different tactics that you get at different points in time. So one of the things that this game does is it kind of reinforces the idea that working together is really important, specifically like with your phalanxes and your shields, but also the idea of like skirmishers. So you have this kind of this two-piece combat setup. You've got dudes that get in close and stick together around shield wielders, and then you've got combat that's very, very fluid. So you can get up in somebody's face, maybe throw a couple javelins, and then run the heck away again.
So are you controlling everything there? Or are you controlling an army? Are you controlling just one character, or one character controlling an army?
Just one character. It's a standard D&D style RPG. So you've got essentially as a group or an adventuring party, you can create different compositions based off of like your skill sets, what weapons you're using, that kind of thing.
So one challenge I've always seen in tabletop when it doesn't get to the army scale is that it's not really reflective of line combat. So the idea of like when you get numbers of 5 on 5, so we do melees too. So this whole thing is with period weapons. So when you get 5 on 5, it ends up being skirmish tactics. No matter what, doesn't matter what everyone brings to the fight, it's skirmish tactics. Because weapons are tools that you actually use. Think of them more like a crowbar to open a crate rather than or a screwdriver with a specific head to do something. You don't use certain weapons against guys with certain other equipment.
Right.
I was actually I've play tested it a couple times with Keith and some of the other folks, and it was great because we had like an elephantine person up ahead with their shield, and the rest of us were kind of crouching around, stabbing around them.
Nice. So you actually get into the physical proportions and like passing. It's like that's pretty cool. I like it. Yeah.
Did they wield the shield using the trunk of their elephant nose, or?
They were bipedal. They had like fingers and arms and things.
So you're saying that they did not use their trunk to hold the shield?
As far as I know, they did not use their trunk to hold their shield.
No,
that is a missed opportunity.
Not. However, one of them does worship a god of creation who happens to have the like fire domain and consistently blows fire out of the end of their trunk. So maybe maybe that's a little consolation prize.
This sounds suspiciously like Mega Man X to me.
No, that is definitely not inspiration at all. No.
Right. Let's take your word for it.
Yeah, at the bit at the end, you'll have to tell us about the races because I feel like the Bohir are definitely pretty cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm happy to go into depth on those guys.
All right. Well, before we get there, let's see. Scott, did you have anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so if you guys didn't know, we put out that Rift Rider setting with like 30-something characters and art and everything. And it was really well received, but we was just kind of like, rolling the dice, see how it came out. Really well received in terms of sales. So we're going to probably release a follow-up. If you guys don't remember, Rift Riders is basically rifts open up and kaiju pop out. Think Pacific Rim, but with superheroes is the best way to describe it. But it's kind of think Young Justice style. It's more lighthearted. It has some humor. One of them is has fecal kinesis.
Okay.
But it's straight. It's interesting. There's a lot of very complex characters in there. There's a character named Mr. Perfect. There's like normally it's like, all right, so now I have the powers of a wolf. Well, instead a dog got like put in the body of a man. So we have Good Boy, who is a superhero with the mind of a lab, and stuff like that. But it was really well received. There's some really serious ones in there. We even talked about toning your game, but we're doing a follow up. So the follow up is actually a prequel. There were originally these 6 heroes called the Shime 6, who are in the first like Rift Riders. The cosmic events produce kaiju, but also turn people into superheroes. So they're kind of a Sentai team almost, made of superheroes. And not all of them live. I mean, it literally says in the intro, like it goes in. The cool thing was we wrote like a page or 2 on them, and I'm like, oh man, now I want to write these guys up. But we were already almost done with it, and I'm like, all right. So we're putting that out. We're putting out a short little adventure with it, like with the original 2 kaiju. I forget what the first one was, but the other one was Gold Coast Kong. So we're putting out some cool stats for them with some good art for it. And it's pretty cool to be back building in the Rift Rider universe a little bit. We just released our NPC codex with our epic level commoners and weird thing Krabadins and useful characters like clerics and stuff too, I guess. And fighters and everything.
The Krabadins are so good.
The Krabadin!
All
Crab
unique
Paladin.
projects. It's just what you're doing. Pick one.
Yep. No, so we're doing the Shime 6. That's coming out, I don't know. We have a few other things in the chamber before then, but yeah, it's looking good. Pretty psyched about it.
Sales are good on Rift Riders?
What?
So, like, is it what's Rift Riders at on the drive-through sales?
Oh, it ain't up there. It's Mutants and Masterminds is not a big selling thing, but it wasn't bad. The initial response I'm talking about, it was pretty good compared to what we've been getting recently. So I'm happy to explore it. We're doing some Starfinder stuff too. So.
So yeah, I'm probably gonna I'm definitely taking Hypercorps 2099 somewhere. I was thinking of doing Mutants and Masterminds 3 because originally that was all supposed to be Mutants Masterminds 3, but I was gonna
Not a
do
huge
now.
market.
Yeah, so it's like I think I might go after the what's old is new stuff first.
Okay. So we got anything else?
Right. I bet if you had a print, you'd have more sales. I think a lot of those people are print buying, right? Because that's Green Ronin didn't start with PDFs,
Yeah.
And they don't have a ton of online support.
They have a pretty active Reddit. They have a few other things. I don't know. It's pretty
the
fun.
forum's pretty good too, but
Yeah.
if you think of PDFs and stuff, like Green Ronin's sticks out way more in my head for the books they make in print than any PDF offerings. All right. Yeah, you should try to make a print, man, if you can.
I'll see what I can.
Yeah. Did you ever have Drive-Thru RPG make you a print?
Yeah, we weren't ever really blown away by the quality of the stuff we got. Yeah. And honestly,
No. I mean, did you ever have them build you a print file?
No.
You should double check your emails and shit because they offered to at one point several years ago. So you could just be like, "Hey guys, take this 300-page thing," and because you said back in January of 2014, they'll hold up to it because I'm pretty sure they have an automated process for it. But it might be worth.
I think actually we tried it when they came out. We did it for Rogues Gallery, I think, and it just the DPI on some of our art wasn't made for that, so it looked like shit, dude.
Yeah, if the web DPI isn't already 300, then it'll be all pixel.
This stuff though is put out really high quality, so
Yeah, if it,
Rift
that's what I'm
Riders,
saying.
so.
It sounded like you had high quality stuff. So like,
Yep. It's almost, it's not vector, but it's done at like 1920 by 1080 everything, and it has some pretty good DPI on it for what it is. But it probably is 300.
So,
Anyway,
printing specs aside,
yeah, sorry.
favorite new project that is not ours that we do not profit on. Do we remember if anyone brought up the new Cold Press Patreon tier? Because I was not here to bring it up, so it wasn't me.
I don't remember.
You can if you want.
Go for it.
Yeah, no. Actually, I'm gonna have to look at it again. And
While Savannah looks at that, I will talk about the honorable mention that I have. I use Indy Martin for a ton of art, and she has this Tortoise Hair Creations thing that she does a Patreon through, among other things. But she released the most awesome Inktober piece I've seen yet, which is the Great Pumpkin Patch Cthulhu going crazy on Linus and what's her name? The girl with the blonde hair. Susie? No, it's not Susie.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but the Peanuts characters. It's like a Cthulhu Pumpkin Patch Peanuts. It's awesome.
oh, that sounds good.
Yeah. So tell us about this Warlock Patreon.
It's not pulling up for me, so I won't.
All right. So the Warlock Patreon level is specifically for Kobold to put out Midgard stuff for 5e. And in becoming a Patreon, you get first access to, maps and monsters and new 5e options and all that jazz. So I thought it was kind of interesting that they were doing a tier specifically to support stuff for one system. Like, not that it's bad or good or indifferent, but it is interesting.
How many Patreon followers they got there?
That I am not sure.
Should say somewhere on. This is the Cobalt Press site.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the Kobold Press site. I have to look on their Patreon.
396. Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, well, Kobolds wants the big names. So.
Yep.
What's Ian Sider up to? They were in the top 100 for a while.
Yeah. Anyway,
Whoa!
what?
You turned into a robot.
I did?
Yep.
Oh shit. 1 second.
Oh, you're less robot-y now.
No, I know what it is. 1 sec.
Robot Scott. Holy shit! Insider has 1,275 patrons. Jesus. I need to hit them up again and write more stuff. All right.
My robot is so.
You're better.
I'm not good. Hang on a second. I'll refresh. Am I good? Am I like immune? Is it gone?
I think so.
Here, I'm gonna refresh.
Oh, you back?
Am I better?
Yes.
There we go. Yeah. Sometimes I'm not using my normal mic today, so it has a tendency to do that every 30 minutes or so. So let me know, and I will refresh myself.
He's definitely not a Cylon, guys. Why would you even ask that?
People used to suspect that's what happened at we used to do it on Hangouts. So do we want to talk about? I know Savannah had it too. The Puerto Rico Hurricane Relief Fund bundle.
Yeah, do it.
Yes. I mean, there's always a bundle for whenever there's a tragedy, and this one's for the hurricane. I would say the hurricane, but there's several hurricanes that have hit that whole region, and they're doing a bundle. Man, it's like $25, but God, there are so many things in there. I was looking over it earlier. I can't pull up with a new setup. I can't pull up what it is, what's in there, but there has to be like 30 something PDFs, 50 something PDFs.
Yeah, it's a crazy big amount.
And there's everything from like Savage World stuff to Pathfinder, Starfinder. There's lots of stuff in there.
Yeah. Oh, the Matt Forbeck novel about Gen Con.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
There were a few novels in there, actually, I think. At least 2.
Do we have anything in here?
I don't. I didn't know what was going on. Or would have.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I don't think Jason put anything. Sometimes Jason will put some stuff in sales from like Hypercorps.
So, let's see. What else we got today?
Yeah, Keith, did you have anything that you want to talk about in this section?
Not a whole lot at the moment, unfortunately.
That's
I've been
okay.
pretty busy getting on board at a new job, so.
Yeah, no, that's always an adventure.
Always.
My real mention for the day is the Prisoners of the Drow, which is a pay what you want, so possibly free product for 5e. It's a simple, like mid-level 9th to 12th. It's variable. which I like.
Mhm.
Adventure about some drow that have imprisoned people in a subterranean place.
As they are wont to do.
As they do, yeah.
Price is right, even if you only give them like $5. The maps are simple, but like I said, it's all straightforward, and it's clearly like a new kind of offering for this person. And I don't know, I thought it was good. I liked it.
Honestly, I have ran Spiders and Souffles, my drow running a restaurant scenario, 3 times over the past weekend, and I have a really hard time taking drow seriously now. Like, one group of them was trying to keep their profit margins low, so instead of buying supplies, they basically turned into a small-scale thieves gang. Like, yeah, we go in and we steal this guy's curtains and we use them for tablecloths, and we bust in and we steal this guy's fruit, and yeah, it was ridiculous.
I mean, I guess if you're in the Underdark, anything goes, right?
I
What
suppose
happens in
I
Underdark
feel like
stays
it.
in Underdark?
Yeah, see, that's the problem. You also stay in the Underdark. I feel like it did inspire me to point out that some things need to, this is not a murder hobo campaign. This is a campaign where you stay in this city and you deal with the people in this city long term. And it was fine for a one-shot, but for a campaign, like, you can't go down kicking people's doors and stealing their exotic fruit, because they're gonna know you, and they're going to find you and their fruit, and they're going to kick your ass.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess that was retroactively my project that I was doing.
Same
here.
I will stop doing that now.
We're also way into drow at the height of Dristu Warden, so we played a drow party, and I played the anti-drow, who was this like 6'6" barbarian drow with a sorcerer level, so I could have a scorpion to make poison for the axe.
Nice.
And then he only ate other drow.
Oh,
He had a
God.
giant mohawk, and he was just like Arnold of the drow, and only ate drow. Like,
So
he
here's a
wouldn't
question,
eat
though.
anything but drow.
So drow tend to be of evil alignment.
Oh, he was definitely fucking evil, but he
No,
was not
okay.
like the
But
regular.
the thing is, though, he's killing
Not
evil
even
creatures. Does that make him good?
He wasn't nice to anybody else. He just particularly hated it. He was like a what's the word when you hate your own race? What is it?
Self-hate. One of them self-hating drow.
Yeah, he's one of them self-hating
Yeah.
drow. Yeah.
So, do we want to move on to Pathfinder Starfinder?
Yeah. Although
Yeah.
unfortunately, I have not gotten to read any new Starfinder, which is
Oh, come on. Mike,
I'm
gotta
sorry.
read it, bro. It's okay, I know, life is crazy. I'm not gonna give you shit for it because I only finally finished reading every damn page like this weekend. Though I have played it, obviously. There were certain parts I just didn't need to read, kind of, like the fluff section as much. So I finally got through all of it. But yeah, so Savannah, I hear that maybe you applied to something this week.
Yes. So last week before, applied for the Paizo game developer position, and then they turned around and posted up an editor position. I'm like, well, sure. So
Might as well.
yeah, absolutely.
And I also applied to that position, and I thought it was gone. And Savannah went, "No, Scott, it's not gone." And I went, and I applied.
So yeah, see, whenever you become the developer and I become the editor, then you clearly have to make me an NPC like Easter
as my
egg.
friend said, yes, I'm okay with that.
Good.
You said a tiefling inquisitor is what you said.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that is.
But like a
doable.
dashing tiefling inquisitor.
Of course, like
I need a
26 charisma, right?
Oh yeah, no, like demon blooded, like bonus to charisma all the way.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Isn't there like a
Lots of love
webcomic
interests.
meme that's like perfect for this? It's the girls in a cafe, and then her like, oh, what is it? It was like, now I gotta find it. When I find it, I'll message you to you later this week. I see it like every month.
There's also a interestingly, there was this. So it was kind of innocuous. They sent out a survey. Paizo did, and it came out today, and it took a long time. I did it on my lunch break. Something like 40-something questions, 50 questions. It was kind of interesting. I mean, on the surface, it was just kind of a survey, but it was interesting what they were asking about. They were asking stuff like, none of it, I mean, obviously it was specifically a Pathfinder one. It wasn't a Paizo general one, so it was very much, it kind of felt like, where do you want Pathfinder to go after this type of survey?
That's a big question.
It is. Like Starfinder came out, and we're kind of definitely putting a lot of stuff on there, but where do you want to go? You know? Where does that leave Pathfinder?
I mean, it probably leaves them to manage all the plot seeds that they've been weaving in the past 110 adventure arcs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there was an interesting focus on Pathfinder Society. They're saying, like, hey, how do you guys like this? Does this something you guys actually use? There were questions about virtual tabletop stuff, PDF versus digital stuff. What genres do you like? I'm like, that's a pretty interesting... And they had some really oddly, like, do any of these genres appeal to you? And it was, like, really specific, you know? Like, one of them was, like, gothic punk, and, like, I forget what they are, but it was really specific on a lot of them. I'm like, are you fishing for campaign or adventure path things? Like, I don't know.
I think we know the answer is yes.
Yeah. Almost certainly. See, I just want them to do a Galt adventure path. Dang it.
See, I'm
like
gonna be honest.
French Revolution, like perma drama.
Yep. See,
I have no use for this Taldor stuff that's coming out.
I honestly want them to do more campaign settings. I know it sounds bad. I want to see them expand where Pathfinder goes. I've always been the guy to push the boundaries on Pathfinder and fantasy as a genre. I think it's really... I'm going to be honest, though, I don't like Golarion at all. I've read a bunch of Golarion stuff, but everything I read about Golarion, I'm like... I wish that, like, section was its own setting. Why did you put 30 in here? Let me play my game, you know? Get some aesthetic cohesion here, man. It's the problem with the patchwork quilt thing.
True. It is a smidge jarring.
Mm-hmm.
You'll cross borders, and all of a sudden you're in Sherwood Forest versus the burning wastes of whatever. Like,
yeah,
pretty much.
And sometimes they're like, so there are robot androids fighting barbarians over here, and over here is France. Over here are the Romans, and I'm like, wait a minute. One of these things is not like the other, you know?
Yeah.
And
then also up there with the androids fighting barbarians, there's, the children of Baba Yaga over here doing things. And also, like, Rasputin is a child of Baba Yaga, and yeah.
Actually is, yes.
I feel like of the various places, like, it's not riffs.
No, it's not.
Like, it feels put together. It makes sense. I don't have any issues with it.
I know, hey, you know what? Personal preference here. I know not everyone does. Golarion's very popular. A lot of people like it. And I can get behind certain parts of it, and I'm like, okay, I get the meta idea of, if you want to play a game like this, put it here. If you want to play a game like this, put it here, and then you can just kind of, like, do whatever you want. But that's where it loses me. I'm like, I want aesthetic cohesion. I don't know. I'm also not the guy who buys modules, so it doesn't really matter.
Fair.
Yeah,
I like my sandboxy stuff.
I don't agree that it's not aesthetically cohesive. I feel like they've draped all the tech and stuff in enough like, enigma, right? It's like the Necrons of Warhammer 40k, basically, is what they gave you with their tech stuff, which I like. I like the technology guy, but it's essentially they're like, hey, these are the Necrons. We're not calling them that. That's the feeling I got out of it.
Did you see that post I did? I think it was last week. I think with the Necron thing.
No. I don't.
So there's this.
And I'm talking about the Pathfinder, by the way.
No, I understand. Okay. But there was a quote from someone. I forget who worked on 40k lore, and who was just like, at one point, the way they got the Necrons was on not keeping your lore tidy. Your world building tidy was like the quiescent. Someone added a line saying the quiescent perils of the Satan. And then they went, that's a great word. And they made the Satan phase knife. Before the Necrons were a thing. And because they kept making references to it, they eventually built it up into the Necrons.
Yeah.
And this because they didn't keep their lore tidy. They were just like, they shared the word a few times, and they're like, we really have to make this a thing. And I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I saw that post. It was pretty cool. But yeah.
Although let's be real, Warhammer 40k is not the poster child for being cohesive with their lore, right?
True.
I totally agree, but one of the beauties of it is it's all about misinformation and what is actually true. They're like, this could be true. Like, there's like possible things, like Cypher might be this thing, or doing this, or doing that, or doing the other thing.
I am Alfarius. I feel like that just covers the whole idea there. And yeah,
Redacted. Like, you can put that in lore, and that makes me happy.
yeah,
Unreliable
it's really hard
narrators
to codify what makes Warhammer 40K so just goddamn successfully intriguing. But part of it is that like mysticism and misinformation inherent to everything, because it gives you this like latitude in what's actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they do protect their IP. Like I had to fight with them to get my Kaiju Corpse Golem in the game, which I was like, how could you not want that? Like, I think that was part of my reply. I was like, why are you even having this conversation, guys? Like, it's a giant golem made out of corpses that throws exploding corpses. Like, how do you get more Nurgle than that? Like, you're hanging out in Nurgle's taint. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Ugh, that was a phrase I didn't need to hear today, Mike.
Nurgle's taint.
I'm just saying, like, it was.
That's the name of my new IPA.
Warhammer 40K, and they like wanted to have a little thing about it. So, you know, they do protect their IP and they're on top of it, at least more recently. I don't know if back in the 90s it was quite as tight.
Squats. What?
Squats are still around. They're still around.
Technically,
can make a comeback. They can make a comeback.
All right. Do we want to move on?
Army.
Well, Mike has an orgasm here. Do we want to talk about 5e or whatever? Will Mike bring a breakdown?
I'm ready once we bring Mike back to the world of the.
Oh, I see.
Speaking.
Pelly's in your background, by the way. Hi, Pelly.
Oh, hey, Bubba.
They could all have power armor, and it would make fucking sense. Right? Like,
Are we talking about the golem of corpses with power armor?
No, I'm
Squats.
talking about the SWAT clone army now. That's where I'm
Oh,
at.
The Grand Army of the Republic, but with squats.
Oh yes, that's what I'm talking about. Like in a scenario where it makes fucking sense.
So before Mike goes off and creates another RPG product and leaves us to our own devices, D&D 5e news and speculation.
I know Savannah's doing it now.
So I've got a question, right?
Sure.
Kind of a supposition. So we just came out with the Tomb of Annihilation, right? Pretty cool campaign module. But fundamentally, that asks the question: what happens if resurrection is no longer a thing that you can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, curious, are there any other tropes that are so core to the experience of Pathfinder or 5e that you could base essentially an entire campaign off of it, of removing it or altering it or changing it?
One interesting one that I always saw come around is, and I'm not sure if it's as much of a trope, but you're familiar with the Trask, right?
Oh, yeah.
So have you guys seen the City of the Trask?
Mm-mm.
That's the one where they use its corpse to, like...
Yeah.
You got
they just
Salt and
mine it.
Wounds? Are you referring to Salt and Wounds?
I'm here. It originally was a post on the EN World board that got, or maybe RPG...
Jim Perkins' Salt and Wounds Kickstarter. Is that what you were referring to?
I think it eventually became that. I don't remember.
Okay, yeah. Everyone eats off the Trask. No, I work on it.
yeah.
I work on it.
Yeah.
I'm familiar.
So originally it was a post on a message board.
Yeah, and then he was very smart about it. He created Patreon, and
Yep,
it was a whole. It was a long thing. Yes.
Yep.
Been
But yeah,
around
so,
for quite some time, I seem to
Yeah.
recall.
oh yeah, many years. So I'm just saying, like, that's a thing. Or if you ever hear of a Tippyverse?
No.
So the Tippyverse is another thing that started as a post, made me think of that, which is basically taking everything in an RPG, rules as written, how would a society function?
Mm-hmm.
So it comes to, like, all right, how are cities built with regard to respect to military defense when teleportation is a thing?
Yes.
It's a fantastic post to read, and there's a few other ones like it, but I don't know about anything just removing it outright. I mean, you can always say the remove magic or screw with Vancian settings or whatever, but that just makes it not as fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I use thematic attributes in all of my campaign settings except for Varanthia. So, like, it codifies luck and reputation in Hyperscore, for instance, because you're, like Shadowrun operators with superpowers, basically. And then in Mists of Akuma, it becomes this thing called Haitoku, which is means fall from dignity, right? So the whole time you're playing, you're trying to avoid the Mists of Kuma and also falling from dignity, because if you do, you change this like fucking zombie thing. And then in Wastelands, it's a radiation, and there's irradiated stuff everywhere, right? And then in the current one, it's what is it? Sin and sanctity. And sin is how much sinful you actually are, and sanctity is how good you are at making it look like you're not sinful. Because the whole game is playing as evil characters in a world where like the good guys have won.
One of the things we took as a literal thing, a mechanic that became an actual like in-game thing, was Necropunk. We did action economy by utilizing what's called phase, because people were all moving at like hyper speed, but it was relative hyper speed and weirdness. So like you actually got extra like actions and stuff. So like if you were like a KM or which is like a monk martial artist, master perfect martial art, or a guy in a bone skin suit, you could move at like precognitive speeds. But if you were in a skull, what was it called? It was the bone golems, which are like their war machines. You actually were faster than that, so you get extra action, and it was like phase order just fucked with people. It was a great mechanic. It was a lot of fun to play with.
So it was like taking celerity in Vampire the Masquerade.
Yes, there you go.
Did it become as ridiculous?
Well, yes, but it also felt like if you were specialized in trying to get like phase 3, I think it was, which was like bone golem armor. Oh my god, you basically had to spend like everything on your character just to get that. That was what you were doing. And there were ways to just go, because we had an engineer hacker dude too, who could just go, oh, sorry, shuts down for a round, you're screwed, you know. And Quorum were all about that. Eventually, I think 20th level you got phase 3, but most of the time
ultimately, I think we're saying that introducing a blanket mechanical rule on any RPG system to enforce a theme is a great way to do it.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Like, I think a really cool one would be just like everybody gets a buddy. Like, and this is not something that I would actually base a setting on, because I'm a 13-year-old still. But it would be cool to be a player and like everybody just gets an animal companion or familiar. Like, just regardless. And if you get one from your class, sure, you can have another one. But like just everyone in the world gets one. So like you've all like, you know, Timmy down the streets, friends with the squirrel, and they're always playing pranks on people. And like, you know, there's George and his orangutan again.
Companions, basically.
So it'd be like Golden Compass-esque.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And like that would be interesting to see like how it plays out. And like, would you want to be cheesy with it and make it like, you know, in Zootopia, where like the sheep is the companion of the mayor or some shit like that, you know what I'm talking? Or would you want to be like realistic and be like, okay, well, he's got a lizard with him. You know, there's nobody makes much about it.
Or would you want...
It's fine.
Everybody's got one. It's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It would be. I don't know if I'd want to actually spend all the time and resources to make a whole 300-page book.
No, I got you.
I want to play like at least like a 3-shot in that world, though. That sounds great.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be interesting in a sense, sort of like Small Fears. Like where like Tales from the Loop, where like
fucking everybody's got an imaginary friend. It's a straight up not imaginary.
Yes.
Imaginary.
Yes.
What was that series?
Foster's House of Imaginary Friends?
No. There was a book series when we were kids. It was like YA as shit. Where they had the gem they bound the spirit to, but it was like a shadow. Deltorian Quest.
Deltorian Quest.
It's fucking
I
weird.
do not know what you're talking about, but it does sound YA.
They basically got like gems or something, and they could go to like this world, and like they could bind monsters to them, but only depending on the color of their fucking gem. And the guy got a really bad beast and was like sent to the lower caste because of it, but he had to do it to save someone, and it turns out he was the chosen one the entire time. And it's YA shit, dude, but it was a lot of fun. I would write for that. Damn it, that would be awesome.
I was gonna say I'd want to play it for a bit. I mean,
it's
a 300-page book about it, but it sounds really fun.
The other thing was, I haven't played it. I thought it was kind of interesting that someone released for 5e Esper Genesis, which is like sci-fi fantasy, kind of very crystally for
Starfinder for 5e.
Pretty much. I'm like, I wonder if that's inspired by the success of Starfinder in any way. Maybe?
They took advantage of the PR ramp up and stuff when, when Starfinder was announced and everything.
Do a fast follow. Yeah.
All right.
I'm just gonna say though, they did not have my hugely impressive sneeze at their announcement, and Starfinder did, and that's got to count for something.
Okay.
Definitely, 100%. Yeah.
All of Savannah's
it was a real great sneeze.
are
Tremendous.
great value.
The best.
Huge.
Oh God. Just hate all of us. Other RPG news. Another company is hiring people. If you work in the US, I want to say it's customer service rep and accounts manager. And then the UK, it's accounts manager for Battlefront. I will put the link in the Twitch.
I don't think I'm actually familiar with Battlefront.
I think they do war games.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, that makes sense.
This would be a Scott job, I think.
Maybe.
Well, you like miniatures and stuff.
I do, and I love my war games and all that stuff. I haven't had a chance to play them as much recently because, developing and not sleeping and working, but I'm obsessed with them still, yeah.
Well, that's good.
What else? There's another 5 Rings beta came out, and it's on Drive Through RPG, so you can go download it. It's like almost 300 pages or 250 pages or something, and
for a beta? Wow.
And their stuff's always pretty, dude.
Why is my name on them? Yeah, they're always putting my name on websites. It's actually kind of fun. My favorite was when we got to be on Paizo, and it was like, I still feel bad because Claudio has you looking at the dragon on the cover of Hypercorps, so we don't get to see Savannah's face. But
well, no, the thing was that on there, one of the images was like, it was literally like, because it was a rectangular image, but a square box.
Just
but literally just shows Mike Myler. Like, I was just scrolling down, and it's just like, Mike Myler. Like, the product is Mike. We're buying Mike at an auction.
Yes, that is the answer.
Modern equipment.
Oof, I don't know. No offense, Mike. I feel like you'd be a bit of a white elephant.
A white elephant.
White elephant.
Well, the whole source of the term white elephant is that, like, if the king wanted to screw you over, he'd give you one of the royal white elephants because it was a lot of effort to, like, do upkeep on them because you had to keep them in the same opulence as the sultan.
I see.
So, like, doing Mike Myler upkeep, that'd be.
I thought you said wide elephant, and I was like,
yes,
okay,
you were
so
a wide
elephant.
elephant.
And I'm wide? Like, the fuck? Like, way to lay it on thick. All right.
I understand my model, but.
Yeah, I was like, I've been trying to lose weight. I don't appreciate that. Like,
You do not look like an elephant in any case.
No, it's interesting to watch all that come out because, like, I handed the manuscript like 3.5 years ago or something, almost 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and like there's been change. I'm gonna like he's sending me he's gonna end up making a hardcover and send me a copy, and I'll have to read through everything again because there've been a lot of like little subtle changes and stuff, and all good from what I've seen. But yeah, it's really neat. I don't know. Like I expected him to release it much quicker, but like it just got in queue behind a bunch of other stuff, and yeah, so now
it happens, dude. Yeah, I had a product that finally got released after 2.5 years, I think. So yeah,
still waiting on Frog God Games. Fingers crossed.
That's right. I got one that I don't think will ever be released. It's been like I think 5 years, and they kind of were like, "Well, it's in limbo right now." I'm like, I'm never getting paid, am I?
I had a great thought while we were doing Nazi Smasher. There's a character in there from Lemuria, and all the pre-gens were written by this guy named Steve Caron, who pledged a crazy amount of money to Kickstarter. And he made these pre-gens for like running, when I was running games for PaizoCon. Anyway, one of them's Lemuria, and I was like, okay, well, we can include Lemuria in Hypercorps somewhere, so write some stuff about Lemuria. And then he did, and I was like, oh shit, I have this whole thing on fucking Atlantis that a publisher jumped ship on. So like, now we will have Hypercorps Lemuria soon.
Okay, you need to
go through
Good
and
to know.
Mike, were you on with when Deanna Roberts was on?
No, I was not.
Go talk to her. She was talking to me today about she wants to draw all the aquatic things forever. I'm like,
her Inktober
yes.
stuff has been kick-ass.
And I'm just
she drew a flamboyant cuttlefish person.
And I'm just like, I don't know if I'm releasing anything like that soon, so go talk to her, dude.
Yeah, I will. We'll get there. First, I want to do Escape Cleveland 2099 a lot because all the maps are done basically. So like that's most of the work is the maps and the writing comes way faster and easier.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So other media of interest?
Yeah, other media of interest. I imagine everybody's already heard, but how about them Google Pixel translating earbuds? That sounds awesome.
Oh,
You know,
I know,
I
right?
hadn't heard either, but I don't. That seems like a very
babblefish.
niche.
What are you talking about?
It is, but it's very niche. Also,
What
it's
do you
not a
mean?
fish, which is.
Well, do you actually want to put a babblefish in your ear versus an earbud?
Well,
I mean,
it's
why would I
permanent.
not? Like, earbuds bother my ears. Having a fish in my brain sounds pretty dope.
I don't know,
And
dude.
this is how you
I'm
got
pretty
kidney
excited for
stones,
it. We have the
Savannah.
Star Trek
I think
communicators.
this kind of thinking is how you got kidney stones.
Uh,
I would rather have the fish in my ear than the earbud. Sounds like the kind of decision making.
hey, if I don't have to pay $159
they are a
for
little
that
expensive. I'll give you that.
babblefish,
They're a little expensive, yes.
Yeah,
I would
but
probably wait
speak
a
40
year or two.
languages or understand 40 languages. That's
That's what I'm
awesome.
saying.
I
Like
it's
don't
gonna be
understand
superpower.
shit
40 languages.
for maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years, but like it's at like this. We're hitting the Shadowrun point. Like we're
I
getting
mean,
there now.
we're already sort of in that dystopia, so we might as well get the earbuds.
Yeah, let's get the perks. That's what I'm saying.
So what my question is though
Jetpack.
is like someone talking to you and then having the earbuds talking at the same time, like a second or two later, would be really like distracting. I mean, you'd probably take some really getting used to.
I mean, it'd be kind of like having a translator, right? Like,
Yeah, but a translator, like like the person talks, then the person thinks, and then they tell you the thing. So, but I'm wondering if it's like as they're talking, or if it waits for them to finish and then does it. Because that I could get behind.
I think at a certain level, you just have to ignore the person actually
yeah.
talking and just,
Whether
listen to your
earbuds or not.
babblefish.
Yeah, like you probably just put your hand over your ear while they're. Oh no, I guess you couldn't because the earphone needs to hear
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
I
I'm
guess
just like, how does that work? Anyway,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could do a really good job of baffling the audio canal. Like,
yeah, I'm interested to see how it works.
Witchcraft.
That's pretty much how it works.
fucking
That's my answer.
witches.
Yep. I'm the witch. All
So,
right, Conspire. This sounds exactly what I want to play personally.
So, Conspire is a game put out by my buddy Alex Jarabak, who's local here in Seattle. Cherry Pick Games is his imprint. But
is this the
essentially-
person who did the Bring Your Own Book?
No, that's another buddy.
Oh, damn, man, you know all the best people. Please continue.
But Bring Your Own Book is amazing, by the way, if you guys haven't played it. But this is Conspire. It's essentially like a version of Baron Munchausen or something like that that's got a little bit more thematicism to it, in the sense that you get everybody together and you're trying to you've each got different goals that you're trying to achieve, and it's all about just role playing out those goals in talking with people on the sides and things like that. The coolest little mechanic in there is that as you're playing the game, you've got 3 poker chips, and you can spend one to make anything in whatever this kind of shared world that everyone has created absolutely true. So, like, for example, you could say, everyone knows that, babies taste delicious. So awful things like that you can just yes, this is what happens. And everybody just has to get on board and go along with it. And at the end, you kind of rate each other on how you did and have a number of points. It's quite a blast. We actually did a dinner party version where we had different courses, kind of corresponded to different rounds.
Love it.
Does that mean you're bringing it to Friday night game night sometime? Yes.
I might have to bring it to Friday night game night sometime.
Yeah. You let me know.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
It's out. Check it out. If you guys are at the Shut Up and Sit Down Expo in Vancouver, he'll be running a couple of games over there.
That will not be where I am.
Why not? It's so good.
It's a little bit of a trip for me.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. And what's this about Voltron in October?
So
Season 4. Tell us.
Yep.
I want to know. I love
let's say
Voltron.
it's 13
Yeah.
on the 13th. It's coming out. It's weird. They didn't really announce that. Season 3 just ended, and they're just done. Here you go. And we're like, oh, cool. I just got an email right before the show, so I put it on there. I'm psyched to see where that goes.
I'm gonna tell you true. I didn't even know the third season was out yet. So this is
Wow,
awesome.
they
I
must
have
be moving
so much
fast.
catching up to do.
So the weird thing is, I'm kind of confused with how they're doing it because it's like the last season was a little short. So what I think they're doing is we're releasing the entire season because this is the Netflix model, but we're releasing what we have. Kind of is what it feels like, you know. So season 3 was like half size.
I look into the production studio and see where they're based.
Let's say
It's not a Funimation
DreamWorks.
product. Is it DreamWorks?
Yeah.
Was it? Are you sure?
100%, because they're the people listed on it at least. I know it's a DreamWorks production and they do it, but let's see.
Well, I mean, they could have all the character models and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
they might be making stuff as quickly as South Park does at this point.
Well, the other thing that's interesting is when we talked about season 3 way back when,
Especially the fucking robots, especially the Voltron
Oh, yeah.
robots. So keep an eye out for how much time is spent looking at the robots in space
Well,
versus actual characters.
One thing that I'll kind of say is when we were talking about season 3 was the animation quality actually went up.
Mhm.
For the characters,
I mean,
they
I
actually
have
got
no
more in there.
qualms against the animation. It's great, but like that's what I'm saying when you're looking at it. Like that's weird. It's coming out really. It's never. They're not making it the way they're making a standard anime. They're being very smart, so
Okay.
we're not looking at it and seeing reboot. Basically,
Mm-hmm. Apparently,
and it's
Reboot's
great
getting a
too. If you
reboot
guys
too, by
haven't
the way.
seen Voltron, like fucking.
Apparently, he keeps circling rumors about it. Reboot's
Oh,
getting a reboot.
Yeah. I've been hearing it for a while.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, that and Eek a Cat, I'm sure.
Oh man.
So, anything else here?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No.
All right, now we get to go into the huge list of Kickstarters here.
All of the Kickstarters. All of the.
We have many of them.
Yeah.
There are many of them. Yes. First, we can talk about Imperia, which I'm involved with. We're at $55,594,
Mhm.
which is
Out of
250,000. Yes, so we're 20% of the way there, and we launched on I think early Tuesday morning. Yeah, it was early someday this week, Monday or
Yeah.
Tuesday. It's all been blurring together because I've been
Always.
busy managing a bunch of stuff for this. But yeah, check it out. It's awesome, and we're updating, and there's cool stuff coming on the way, and live events are coming. You can talk to Frank about it, and there's a bunch of information about Imperia itself, which is really neat. Like it appears vanilla on the outset, and then so like it's easy to integrate players from one world to the next, and then there's a lot of hidden stuff that I'm under an NDA and not supposed to talk about it, but it's really cool. Yeah,
Take your word for it.
it's yeah. Check out the website and sign up for the newsletter and all that stuff.
One thing that's really cool about it, just kind of we had Frank on last week, is it's being written for like what 10 systems or whatever.
10 RPG systems.
Jesus.
Oh
man.
God.
It's awesome, and it talks about like conversion stuff. Like, it's cool, dude.
D&D 5e, Pathfinder, RuneQuest, Savage Worlds, Dungeon Crawl Classics, Castles and Crusades, Sword and Wizardry, Hackmaster, and then D&D Back Me, which is like basic
Yeah.
edition classic.
I feel like half
More
of those
or
aren't
something.
really necessary,
Sits
but
cool.
it's an interesting approach.
Frank disagrees. He was very, very adamant on making it for all these things.
I think it was pretty
Oh,
cool.
okay. I mean, he's doing it, not me. So
Yeah. But yeah, that's moving right along, and there's information about it that's public now, and it's cool.
woo.
And yeah, you can watch last
Alright.
week's episode to see a bunch of other stuff.
Superpowered legend, Scott.
If you guys haven't been seeing that
Jacob.
stuff being posted, I mean, Jacob Blackman has been doing his superpowered, stuff, his releases. What is it? Every month or every few weeks for a while.
Yeah, something like that.
He has a bunch of them. He's a great artist. He loves the superheroes, and he's just been statting them up for Mutants Masterminds. And he's been putting them out, and he's kind of doing a compendium of them now. It's really cool. I think it's funded.
Oh yeah, it's way overfunded.
Yeah, it's
already.
way overfunded. So go get yourself an
That's
awesome
it, not
product. I
surprised.
mean, like, let's see, what is the other one?
7C.
Yeah, John Wick's. Yeah, if you guys haven't played with his 7C stuff, it's pretty cool. He's doing Khitan, which is like more.
Kitai.
Yeah, it's like an expansion on it, but it's also its own kind of standalone thing. if you like kind of Legend of the Five Rings stuff and you apparently don't like a beta or whatever, it's going on there. Plus, it's John Wick. John Wick's awesome. So go buy
I'll
his
have
stuff.
to look into it because I had someone who just casually handed me like essentially the Game Master's Guide for 7th Sea like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the swords and swashbuckling and all that good
It's very.
jazz.
This is much more like Japanese. It's very like. So it's.
So I get to play Chang the Merciless, yes.
It looks a lot like.
Retire and run my own mostly legal gambling establishment and sell
Sounds
out
good.
the rest of my pirate armor.
Sounds like you have a campaign ready for you. But yeah, it seems like it's much more L5R meets 7th Sea. I kind of dig it.
Cool.
And they are at 122,000 of their 50,000 goal after launching a couple days ago.
So they're fine.
Yes, that's all. That's going to be a big one.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably looking at maybe 300,000, 400,000, something like that.
And let's see, we have Starfinder Masterclass miniatures.
Oh yeah, that popped off just before we started doing last week's show, and they are at almost 200,000.
Oh wow!
We got a bunch of heavy hitters this week.
Yeah. What's next? Numenor 2. What did they get to? They're at 439,000.
Oh my god!
Printing your own damn money.
Is there really a surprise there? Like
no, not even a little bit.
No. Again, it's just he's just a money printing machine at this point, you know.
Yeah, gosh.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me about Amana and the Kishi. Somebody added this.
I didn't put it on there.
I didn't put it on there.
Was that from
Did this guy sneak in and put it on there?
No.
This
that was me from like weeks ago.
Oh, well.
So I don't know how it got on there from.
Oh, wait! I take it back. I think I did put that on there.
Oh no! I talked about the other one, the other African one.
Yeah. So I mean, that's good. That's good that they're more of
they're
them.
more than one.
With the hyena
yeah, and I feel bad for the dude because he's kickstarting for half the money that he needs because he's like, I can just do the rest of it. I just really want to tell the story. So. It looks really cool. There's not enough African myth stuff going around. Like I think he's already made the amount that he, thought would take the whole project.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. So I feel like as a kickstarting thing, you should at least like aim to break even.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the passion there, but like love yourself a little bit, creators.
Yeah, it's always a balance though between like how much do you think you can actually make and keeping it like low enough so if you're gonna hit it no matter what. Because like if you plan for all right, with $1,000 I can make this product no matter what, so I'll put it at 1,000, and if I get 2,000 that's great, but if I only get 1,000 I'm still good,
Right.
It's like double the size of it's 101,000 words. It's a ton, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and what I'm wondering is, frankly, he's like, yeah, I have an editor to, look over this thing for me. If I were editing 100,000 words, like...
More than one editor.
That's a lot of words. And he's talking about the editor in the singular, and it's like...
That's half a cent a word. I mean, I assume the line editor and the proofreader are the same person. They're just getting charged twice. But, yeah... I don't know, 100,000. I mean, like that's less than half a cent a word. That's not great, but
yeah, I was gonna say I personally would not edit at that.
I don't know. I don't think editor rates in RPGs are the same as fictional editor, or just like regular.
No, never.
Rates.
Savannah, are you comfortable talking about rates at all?
Yeah. So whenever I started out as like. Still in school, working for like a third-party publisher. I started at half a cent a word.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of a process of like, don't be afraid to be like, okay, this is my rate. This is what I feel like I'm worth. Mm-hmm. I felt very daring the first time that I'm like, I want a whole cent a word. Like, yeah, sure, that's fine. So currently I'm working now at 2 cents a word. And like you can definitely have some flexibility for like charitable causes, but for a lot of times like it just pays to stick to your guns as an editor. I find that there's kind of because in the US most everybody has like a working level of literacy. Everyone sort of thinks that they can edit their own stuff or that it doesn't need editing. And that's not true, because editing is more than fixing your grammar. So, you know, you are worth things. Yay!
One of the things that I always hate is
editing is fixing your grammar. Are you sure what you're doing is just editing and not editor developing?
See, I feel like it's part of an editor's job, and this is maybe partially because I came from a like more novel background than an RPG background. But like part of an editor's job is to make sure it's coherent. So like if you have continuity problems and stuff, like
Sure.
that's an editor's problem.
One of the things that that everyone who joins kind of the industry, especially new developers, are like, when they go, I just have to read my thing a second time, and I'm like, we have errors. We have big errors on my company. We don't have a lot of money, so even though we have editors, you know, like imagine if we didn't. It would be word vomit on a page, scooped up with a spatula and splashed back down. You cannot edit your own things. I can do editing. I have done editing. I would never in a million years edit my own things. You just can't
it's
do
like
that.
go over, self-correct, proofread yourself, and then send it to your editor.
Yeah, don't send them
They will thank you.
Don't
because the more stuff they have to wade through, the more annoyed they're going to be.
I outsource a lot of this stuff you're talking about to playtesters.
Some of them love that. Not everybody though.
True.
No.
When we got
and I still do my own like self edits, and I change everything, and yeah, it's a process.
We when we sent it a bunch of our Nogwall stuff, we came back with like so many edits, and I'm like, yay, thank you. But we paid we paid people for their feedback, so
it's a good way to get feedback.
It was good. I mean, we got a lot of feedback from a lot of good industry vets. It was good.
Cool.
It's still not done, but.
Let's get back to Kickstarters. What do we got?
So, Consenticle. What's going on?
I saw that. Was funny, dude.
All right. So this game, Matthew Moore, the guy that did Bring Your Book, loves this kind of like social game commentary stuff, and takes the trope of tentacle hentai and stuff like that, but it kind of boils it down to like a social game where you are trying to build trust with an alien entity through this kind of card game system. And they've got a bunch of different modes. Some of them you can't talk to each other. Some of them you can only like look deeply into each other's eyes without any body language, things like that. And apparently the first version they had actually came with like giant rubber tentacles that you would like use to manipulate and stuff like that. And it looks really wonderful. The game isn't like the card art isn't like sexual. It's kind of like titillating. So you could reasonably play it at your local bar or something.
I love that some of the it's like stroke, touch. I'm like, yup, that completely PG-13, and the art is PG-13, but you're like, yeah, there ain't anything you're sucking on that's not PG. That's PG. Oh, you're sucking on their hair. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, super wonderful. So they've got they're funded. They're way overfunded. They got 4 days to go. So get in on that. The next one up is also way overfunded. Second edition of Tiny Dungeon. I didn't play the first one. I don't know a whole lot about that. The thing that really kind of drew me in was the concept of micro settings. They had a bunch of levels where they got someone to just make a small setting that was essentially an adventure, but in a wildly different place or locale. And that looked really, really like a concept that I think a lot of folks could develop for more readily.
I really like the art. That's super.
Yeah.
At one point, we did things called campaign inspirations, which were like short 10-page PDF campaign setting things. So that's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah.
It's still pretty good, actually.
Oh yeah, John Kennedy's on this one.
Am I back?
And Ryan Schoon.
We can hear you.
Aha! Excellent. Yes, bear person with an eye patch. Kick ass.
I might be biased.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But still, like, is that a? Oh no, it's. I was gonna say, is that a walrus person? I think that's just a person with a large beard.
That's just a dwarf.
The dwarf.
Come on. Why
That's
are you gonna be
fair.
like that?
Because he looks like a walrus person. I'm just saying.
So, do we want to go on to Keith, talk your mouth off section?
Happened.
Oh wow.
This is happening, Keith.
We're here now.
All right.
Yep.
Well,
Look at
So-
what you've done. You've brought us
I'll try my
here.
best.
Yeah, so I want to hear about the Bohir as a race in the Lost Age, and also I don't think I've ever asked how you came up with the idea of them as a race.
Oh man.
Can you tell us what they are?
No
first?
pressure.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
that
I'm
was-
going to tell you about this thing you don't know anything about. Detail.
We've had people do that, so
So the Bohir, so the setting, Mythic Bronze Age, kind of an own custom thing. Bohir are this race of the species that is like anthropomorphic animals, kind of based off Savannah animals. So they're Savannah.
No relation.
No relation. So there are 5 different animals. There are gazelles, elephants, rhinos, panthers, and badgers. So it's kind of got like a very African feel to it. And the concept behind them from like a top down is that they were originally some other species that learned how to transform into different like races, kind of
cool.
lycanthropes that could do their own thing.
Yeah.
And eventually they had an offspring that got stuck and couldn't ever turn back to the other thing. And they were expelled in a big exodus and had to go on a bunch of these different things to get out, and kind of created like a monomyth, and some of their people died and became gods themselves and that kind of thing.
I like it.
But culturally, they've kind of got an interesting thing, because when 2 Bohir get together and have kids, they don't mix. Like there's not a concept of like a half elf or a half orc. You are just born as a gazelle person, despite the fact that maybe your parent is an elephant and a badger, for example.
That's cool.
Right. And then like culturally, you're just like, okay, once we get there, we go in and whatever you're good at it, you get placed and get to go ahead and become really specialized at that thing, and are placed in the society based off of that. So there's lots of grist for opportunities for, kind of like the Dritz do Orden thing, where you just don't quite fit in with your people, and lots of kind of interesting character building things for folks to get into. As far as like what inspired that, I really just don't know anymore.
That's fair. I mean, after a while, it gets a little hard to put your finger on, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. As everybody here knows, I'm certain. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a couple of other different races in the world. Of course, there's the ubiquitous humans. They're also a race that were like enslaved and stuff, and had to get out, and they have a whole mythology based off of that.
I'm
and they
glad
have
the
the
humans aren't
coolest
just.
goddess of sea monsters and piracy and stuff.
Yes, Juira, the goddess of the sea, actually tricked like an elder god into giving up his power, and she became like part human, part weird, gribbly, Cthulhu-y sea monster, essentially.
And then ate him.
And then ate him, because that's what you do in Greek mythology and whatnot. So
Of course.
Sure.
I'm really glad you did something with the humans and didn't just leave them as the ubiquitous humans who are boring. I hate that, dude.
yeah, that is really not a lot of fun. And to be fair, in comparison with the other races, humans are a little bit boring, but they've got enough history.
Protagonist syndrome.
What's that?
They have protagonist syndrome, where you have to be,
exactly.
you have to be white bread enough to be accessible and relatable, because that's what people need to imprint on and kind of put their own baggage on.
Mm-hmm.
But they need to be flavorful enough where it's, they're memorable. But it sounds like you struck a good balance there.
Yeah, I actually had quite a few people like coming up at cons and stuff like that, looking at the art specifically and looking at the Bohir and going, oh, I really love the idea of being an elephant. Like I associate myself with elephants or with badgers, or I love what that does, and it gives a really clear character concept for that person to go forward with.
Yeah.
And that's really been pretty potent with just getting people interested, involved, and going forward with that. But the beyond just the white bread protagonists, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, I got one other race that is playable. They're like a weird bat-like race that's like very not primitive, but like very traditionalist. And definitely they got a strong feeling like elves or something like that. But it's not. They've got a very strong matriarchal society, and it's actually, if you recall the drow from Forgotten Realms, the ones that lived on the island, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There were island drow?
Illustrate drow you talking about?
What's that?
Were they Illustrate drow?
Illustrate. I can't remember their name.
The dancing god. She's all about the moon.
Yeah, they had like masks and stuff. Like
I think you were talking about her followers. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Essentially, like super matriarchal. Like I didn't think about them when I was making them, but once I read through everything I had, I went back and looked. I was like, oh yeah, there's some.
You can always see where your influences are from. Yeah.
Yeah, even if you don't think about them.
Subconsciously, yeah.
Yeah.
I specifically always make my drow not about matriarchy because it's so heavy-handed.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god.
To be fair, I stand by the fact that R.A. Salvatore made a shitty evil matriarchy. Like, he didn't go far enough.
They should have gone
If you're
farther.
going to do an evil matriarchy, you gotta play it to the hilt, and he just didn't get there. It's like he can't imagine a world where dudes don't stab things.
So,
Like,
oh, I have to
if I
tell
was an
that
evil
story.
matriarchy, you don't arm the people you're trying to oppress.
And it's like, why do you have this weird, overbearing sexual fixation with spiders? Like, why is that necessary to tie to this every time? Like, every time.
Dude, who doesn't want to fuck a spider?
Trying to
Anybody who's drow, clearly. Ridiculous. I mean, I guess they got all those limbs, which would be interesting, but...
All right, Mike. Now we gotta dive deep on this, man. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. What? Tell me about your past spiders. Like that's just.
Does it have something to do with
paws.
your mother?
You guys see that? They have paws?
Yeah, they're adorable.
Spiders have paws? Yeah.
Oh my god, and the web. Oh man, that could be some good play, man. I love it.
It's true.
Oh my! I'm gonna have to go back and rewrite the spiders in my game now, just to make sure
Perfect.
either
I'm glad you can contribute to
or
this.
steer clear. I'm not sure yet, but
Also, Keith, if you want an Omac in with cool shredder, just add some random dead turtles.
dead turtles.
And
Dead
yeah,
Yep.
cool shredders into
Those
dead
turtles,
turtles.
man.
Oh man! Well, I just got the art request in for a giant floating island turtle. Does that get me some cool cred?
Is it alive?
It is, but it could be dead. It could be dead.
Anti-cred.
Oh.
Dead. He's very
What if it
strict
were
about these things.
undead? What kind of cred does that equal?
Is it killing other turtles?
It could.
I mean, it's very
If
large.
it's an undead turtle killing other turtles, then he's probably about it.
I remember I tossed a line in one of our racial books about the turtle things we had, specifically just so I could be like, Mike, I made a reference to them dying crazily. The death ritual.
Turtles.
So, I think we're actually at about time here.
Are we doing Munchausen?
I gotta see. I don't think so. I think my wife and I have to eat, and then she has to run off. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining us, Keith. Man, that was awesome. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, super fun.
Make sure you have some more spider bondage and killing turtles.
On the list.
Yeah. All right, guys. If you're joining us, thanks for joining us, and have a nice night.
Yeah. Thanks for